Samantha Benigno here. Okay, so I want to explain to you once and for all the thought disturbances. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through each one individually. Now, really, it's important to understand what the idea behind these are. So, first and foremost, the way that we break down change is into three distinct categories, right? So, there's a process here. The first part of change is, it's almost like the preamble. Before we even get into part one, we have to kind of go through the introduction, or right, the prelude. And that is really learning how to calm the body down. So before we can even get into change, we have to learn how to calm the nervous system. Now, you've already heard this isn't a surprise, but so that's why meditation and mindfulness are so critical, because in order to get to where we're trying to go longer term, in order to start to really make a dent in being able to shift your thoughts and emotions consciously and deliberately in the direction of what it is you want instead of what you don't want, we've got to learn to control the body. Because at this point, as you all know now, you have habituated or hardwired a negative habit or pattern where the body is reacting. It's reacting to triggers in the environment in a way that is then taking over your mind or your thoughts. So now that you understand what the problem is, right? Whether we can give it all kinds of labels. We can give it the label of depression. We can give it the label of anxiety, trauma, whatever. But at the end of the day, the way out really is, like it or not, the same. So we have to first teach ourselves how to calm the body down. Now, let's assume that we are starting to be able to do that. So whether it's just the basic slow breath technique or a basic, breath count meditation or something far more advanced, but let's just go ahead and say we've already done that. That's the preamble. Now we move into the next part, or part one, which is awareness. Now, awareness is critical for change, because if we're just not even able to hear what's going on in our inner dialogue, change can't happen, because we don't even know what we're doing that's causing the things that we don't want. We don't know what is causing or how it is that we are contributing to the outcomes that are not serving us rather than the ones that are. And because we don't know, we feel victimized all the time. We feel like it's got to be somebody working against me. It's got to be all these other things. And we start making up lots of stories about what it could be, why it is that the world is treating me unfairly or poorly. But at the end of the day, like it or not, right, it's really all about me. And it really is all about you, me, each of us, right? So today we're not going to talk about the mechanisms of that, but we are talking about awareness, being able to identify what is going on in my mind. Now, in order to do that best and pretty easily, we've broken down the patterns of thought that are most common to all of us so that you can clearly identify them very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up those patterns so you can see them all. And again, this is not news. You've heard about these thought disturbances before. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them up here. Let's see if I can find. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. Here it is. All right. So you should, let me see. You should go ahead and see this slide here. Okay. Now, for now, I just want you to focus on the left side of the screen. We're not looking at the thought solutions. We're really just looking at the problem or the disturbances. So these are the 10 patterns of thought, habits of thought that we identify so that you can begin to recognize them much more easily and stop them in their tracks, right? Once we can look for something, or once we have clarity about what something is, it actually gives our brain the ability to find it much more easily. So I'll give you the very basic example of that. When we're babies, right, we learn what shapes are. And once we learn, right, my daughter last year was in the first grade and she was learning about cylinders and, looking at all of the geometry of shapes and then matching those shapes to things in real life. right? So once somebody identifies a circle for you, now you can look into the world and see circles much more easily because you have language for it. You have a map to find it. Well, that's what this is. That's what these are. These are giving us a map to be able to find those habits and patterns that are not serving us so that we can move away from them and create something different, different outcomes through our perception and our experience. Now, we've talked about past and future thinking a lot, so hopefully by now are familiar with that. And that's very simply, right, this idea that we are not really present in the here and now, but we're thinking about something that's already passed or something that hasn't happened yet. So that's a really, really easy one because, first of all, most of us spend most of our time in the past or in the future. And let me just say, and I want to be very clear about this, we're not saying that, we're not talking about right and wrong. I'm not saying it's bad to think about the past, right? There are times when it might be very cathartic or therapeutic to be thinking about the past, but in our lives, as we are trying to consciously create self-improvement or new habits and patterns, that's not the time to be, replaying fourth grade instances or thinking about last year or beating yourself up for making a bad decision, 6 months ago or in X relationship, right? When we're trying to create something intentionally, when we're trying to really improve how we feel, that is not the time to be overloaded with past and future thinking. Past and future thinking is a surefire way to continue to manifest the habits of depression and anxiety. That's what they are, right? So there's just to be very trite, they say depression is, replaying the past, and anxiety is replaying or worrying about the future. And of course, that's a very trite oversimplification, but it starts to give you an idea of how this goes. And for most people, past and future thinking, it's both. It's, oh, I can't believe I said or did this thing 6 months ago. And then we jump into the future and we say, well, now because I did that, no one's ever going to love me, or I'm never going to be able to do this or that, right? So we're flip-flopping all the time. We sort of try to make sense of the future with the past. But I need you to understand that we're looking for a way out of that dichotomy. And for now, I want you to trust me that once you master getting present and being able to be mindful, once you improve your ability to bring your awareness in the here and now and holding it there for longer periods of time, then we can go back into the past and we can do all kinds of cleanup work, and we can talk about the difference between future tripping in a negative, unhealthy way and future planning in a positive and supportive way. But until you have mastered more presencing, more of the ability as an action, bringing your awareness and focus into the here and now and just being, it's not going to be useful to go digging around in the past or trying to be constructive about the future, because all we're going to do is activate those same old habits and patterns. So even though that may not make sense to you and you may not understand, for now, I just kind of want you to trust me on a leap of faith that the way out involves getting into the here and now and not digging around in the past or worrying about something that hasn't come yet. That includes, by the way, later today or tomorrow. The immediate future also counts as future thinking. And by the way, I'm not saying that this is easy by any stretch of the imagination. I recognize that this is extremely difficult. It's better than anyone. I know how tough it is. And so we're not going to do this perfectly, but it's about the amount of effort that we're willing to put into and harness in order to create that change that we're really after. Because that's it. This is, and I've probably said this before, I'm going to say it again. If you do these things, there is no other outcome possible than change. It is an absolute guarantee that you will have change if you do these things. So it is without question. It's just a matter of whether or not we are able to do these things, right? So, okay. So that's past and future thinking. Let's now, again, like I said, I've already done a lot of work on that. So if you are someone who is already very familiar, if you are familiar with me and you already have been taught a lot about past and future thinking, you can go ahead and turn this video off and jump into the next video, where we're going to get into self-invalidation. Okay, so you can go ahead and jump ahead. And for those that are going to go ahead and do that, thank you so much for your effort and attention. For the rest of us, we are going to move into past and future thinking in a little bit more depth. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again to make sure that we are on the same page here. Okay, great. So as I've already said, this is a pattern of flip-flopping from thoughts of something in the past to thoughts of something in the future. And really, though, the critical mass here is no awareness of the present moment. So for people that are chronically stuck in past and future thinking at the level of depression and anxiety, there's no real understanding of what the present means. They're really like, no, we can talk about it intellectually and even have an understanding intellectually, but still fundamentally not capable or able to bring ourselves into the here and now. And it takes a lot of practice, because what often we think of as present is this other part of past and future thinking, which is splitting my attention. So being half in the here and now, like half here. Let's say, for example, in a classroom, or even right now with me, right? So you're listening to me, but you're only half listening to me. The other half of your attention is judging what I'm wearing or how I look, or thinking about a text message that somebody just sent you, whether you should text them back, or, you know, analyzing yourself and how you look as you look into your Zoom camera, whatever it is, right? We are not present when we are splitting our attention in the here and now either. So to be entirely present, we are just thrown into the moment. We almost blend with the moment. It's like our consciousness is so entrenched or engulfed in what we're doing that we are busy doing that, not active in our thinking. So our thinking kind of almost stops as we just allow the moment to kind of wash over us. So that's really what being present is. It's an action. It's not something that we can sort of, it's hard for us to really use it as an intellectual concept, because it's really not. It's really a verb. It's a frame of being. And that's really what we're after here. We're after letting go of all thoughts of the past and future to embrace the now. Now, here's the important thing here, and this is what is so important about this as a tool for change. And the reason why it's the first one that we go through, because there's a very real reason. This is the one that is the most critical to begin to shift, because it is past and future thinking becomes nothing but a tool to beat ourselves up or to continue to perpetuate negative, unhelpful habits that are depression and anxiety like. So, right, people are afraid of those words, and I get that. So we don't have to necessarily embrace those as diagnoses. But patterns where we're someone who's very stuck in fear, or very stuck in, feeling not good enough, or very shame-filled, or very insecure. Any pattern of thinking where we're really not happy and not satisfied in our lives, what you're going to find when you dig just below the surface, guaranteed, tried and true, is a lot of past and future thinking. And it ends up simply being a vehicle for our negative, unhelpful emotion to continue to use to stay where we are. So it keeps us very stuck. Okay, so we're not going to get into some of these more psychological components, because it's not necessarily helpful. Other than I'll just tell you that one of the ways that this defense, because it is a defense, develops is to help us feel safer in the here and now. So, in other words, if I'm only half paying attention and half sort of analyzing, it sort of makes me feel less vulnerable, less likely to feel embarrassment in the moment, more in control. And so, you know, it does help us to feel protected. There is also a very much an aspect of control in this. We are looking for certainty. We're looking to try to hedge our bets with past and future thinking. But what we fail to understand is that what we think of as hedging our bets is actually solidifying what we don't want. So instead of getting out of these patterns that we don't want, we're just creating them further and further. Okay. So again, we're not going to get into the solution yet. So I'm not going to jump into the solution to past and future thinking, right, which is presencing, because we're always talking about presencing. That is always what we're doing, right? But I just want for now you to master being able to catch this pattern, catch yourself stuck in a pattern, and then learn how to bring yourself back into the moment with all of your tools, whether it's meditation or mindfulness tools and exercises, whether it's mindful fitness or yoga or breath patterns and breath exercises or EFT or affirmations or all of the freaking above, right? No matter what it is that you're using right now, that's what I want you to rely on. I don't want you to get stuck on the other stuff yet, right? We're not there yet. So for now, again, just looking for chronic patterns in your thinking of thoughts that are past oriented and future focused. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Be well and be safe.